when I woke up this morning if I thought we would be talking about Lucas Krull on today's episode, but do we need to have a conversation about tight end Lucas Krull? If you don't know who this is one of the rising stars throughout the spring, someone that Sean Payton has been very high about. He even went as far to say, someday soon, they're going to know who 85 is. He's looking sharp. So I thought for today's episode, we could kind of do a bit of a breakdown on Lucas Krull, and maybe he'll be the next Jimmy Graham. And those are huge, unfair shoes to place in front of Lucas Krull. But let's give you guys some background on the former UDFA who's been all over the country. So he started his collegiate career off at Jefferson College. Then he went to Florida. Then he went to Pitt. He was a UDFA coming out of Pitt, signed with the Saints. Now, he did not play with Sean Payton in New Orleans in 2022, but I'm sure Sean Payton still had some ears in the walls of the Superdome to know a thing or two about him. Now, he was also drafted by the San Francisco Giants in round 34, so a well-versed athlete. I wonder who also played two sports. Jimmy Graham might have played another sport as well. Oh, what do you know? But Lucas Krull last year had a pretty small role until towards the end of the year where he started to put together some really strong games. Had 8 grabs, 95 yards, just 1 touchdown. If you just go look at the box score, that does not look like someone who's on the path to be the next Jimmy Graham for Sean Payton. But let me try and land this plane, and there will probably be some turbulence along the way. Denver's tight end room is a hodgepodge. I think Adam Trautman's tight end 1, but ask me tomorrow, and it could be Lucas Krull. And the same goes for Greg Dulcich. The Broncos tight end room, it's kind of like when you go to a baseball game and they put the baseball under the hat and they move it around for 30 seconds and you got to guess 1, 2, or 3. That's basically what Denver has with their starting tight end. It could be any of these 3 guys. So let's talk about the possibility of it being Lucas Krull, who hopped around the collegiate level for a while, spent a few years at Florida, then he transferred to Pitt. His last year with the Panthers, by far his best year, 451 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, not only does he have a similar multi-sport background to Jimmy Graham, he's also got a very similar size. Jimmy Graham's 6'7", Lucas Krull 6'6". So we're talking about someone who can just high point the football in the end zone and win those 50-50 jump balls. And that's what Jimmy Graham did so well for New Orleans when they got in the red zone, just found a way to come down with the football and box out people, which I think that could be something Lucas Krull adds to his repertoire. Now, if Lucas Krull ends up being the next Jimmy Graham, he won't be a random tight end. But for now, he is definitely a random tight end. So name another Broncos random tight end for me down below in the comment section. I'll go with Owen Daniels. How about that for a random tight end? So let's talk about Jimmy Graham for a moment here because he's the other half of this equation. He was a third round draft pick out of Miami by the Saints. He only played 1 season of college football. He did a grad year at the U after playing 4 years of college basketball for the Miami Hurricanes. And in that lone season of college football, 17 grabs, 213 yards, 5 touchdowns. So he did not have some extensive resume coming out of the college football ranks. He was more or less drafted purely because of the high ceiling potential of, now that's a guy who had 5 touchdowns and 17 grabs in his first season of playing football. With some coaching, we can mold him into what Jimmy Graham ended up becoming, right? Which was a perennial Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber tight end in the league. His first year, though, 356 yards, 5 touchdowns. By no means is that a bad or modest season, but I mean, you can just look at the jump he had from year 1 to year 2. Jimmy Graham took a little bit of time just to warm up. He wasn't some instant Pro Bowler the moment he stepped on the field, and that could be the case for Lucas Krull. Now, I'm not trying to get this point across that Lucas Krull will have the same type of production as Jimmy Graham. What I'm trying to say is I think Lucas Krull could be in the same role that Jimmy Graham was in for Sean Payton early in Sean Payton's time in New Orleans and while Jimmy Graham was a Saint. I'm not trying to put this out in the universe, although it would be awesome, that Lucas Krull in year 2 will have 1,300 yards. No, that's not the point of today's video. The point of today's video is Sean Payton may have his next Jimmy Graham type of player in his offense as a big body tight end that they force feed in the red zone. Because you look at Sean Payton's coaching career and the tight end red zone targets, I know we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but stick with me. Last year, Broncos tight ends were targeted 15 times in the red zone. His last year in New Orleans, only 5 targets for tight ends in the red zone. So you can notice that there's been a bit of a dip, and that's because I think Sean Payton has been searching for his next Jimmy Graham. The Saints did not have great tight ends in 2021, 2020, 2019, but you can see that towards the end of the Jimmy Graham time in New Orleans, and then the start of like the Ben Watson and like Jared Cook eras, if you will, they were getting the football to the tight ends a whole lot more. Like, look when Jimmy Graham was spending his 5 years in New Orleans. All the targets the tight ends were putting together in the red zone. Last year, the Broncos, 15 targets. That's half of what some of these seasons were. So I think we're going to see Sean Payton try to get a little bit more towards this range of tight end targets in the red zone. It also definitely helps that there's Bo Nix. Rookie quarterbacks, they love their check down blankets. And there is nothing more better than a tight end than being a check down blanket. So when you think about Bo Nix and what he's going to want to do in year one to get comfortable, especially as someone that liked to keep the ball near the line of scrimmage in college, it's probably going to be his tight end over the middle of the field. So you can already start to forecast the connections that Bo Nix and his tight ends are going to have, which could lead to a really fun breakout kind of out of the blue season for Lucas Krull. Now, I'll turn this question on screen for you guys to answer in the comment section below. Who do you think will have the most yards of the 3 tight ends? Greg Dulcich, Adam Trotman, or Lucas Krull? Let me know down below who you think will have the most yards of all 3 guys in the comment section. Before we get on out of here, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes I want to hit on. If you want to get this Broncos t-shirt and hat combo, 40% off too, go to chatsports.com/DEN combo. It's a great way to get not just one piece of gear, but 2 40% off, a hat and a t-shirt when you use our link. I put this link in the comments and description of today's video, chatsports.com/DEN combo. As always, we wrap up our videos during the off season with some summer hot takes, and it is a high of like 86, 87 degrees today in Denver. So we've got another Golf Tan Lines hot take here, and Golf Tan Lines hot take, say that 10 times fast, is this is just kind of out of nowhere. But maybe you, maybe not, I don't know where you specifically fell on this hot take we all had a few years ago. We were wrong about Teddy Bridgewater during the 2021 season. And you probably didn't think that I'd be owning up to a incorrect take from 3 years ago, but I was just thinking about the quarterback play that the Broncos are going into this year, the quarterback play they've had the last 2 seasons, and how everyone was super, just tough on Teddy Bridgewater when, looking back, I think it's kind of fair to say Teddy Bridgewater put together the best single season of Broncos quarterback play since Peyton Manning retired. You could make an argument for Russell Wilson last year, and Teddy Bridgewater did not even play the entire 2021 season, had that really big hit at the end of the year, bad concussion, but I just want to come out now and say, Teddy, if you happen to be watching this, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I think we were all too critical and unfairly critical at times. And there was just a little bit of spoiled bratness coming out of riding off of the Peyton Manning era and expecting everyone to be the next Peyton Manning when, looking back at it, Teddy Bridgewater was better than we gave him credit for. And that's very obvious after some of the quarterbacks that came before and after Bridgewater. So, Teddy, on behalf of Broncos country, I'm sorry.